Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Soul-u-tions podcast. Today, I have an episode for you that I think is probably one of the most important things that you as a parent could listen to today, all week, all month, or even for the rest of the year. This episode is all about the parent your kids need you to be. And that's whether your kids are 7, 8, 9, 10, or whether they're 17, 18, 19, and 20. So listen to the introduction and I'll meet you on the other side.
Einstein said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." Most everyone in the world is solving their problems the wrong way. Our problems come from our thinking, and we can solve them with our thinking. So, whether you're at your lowest, just trying to grow, or whether you are trying to sustain growth over your lifetime, join us as we push the boundaries of our current thinking and redefine how we find Soul-u-tions.
And the strength and the love and the smiles and the laughter of friends and family. Add it up, you'll find no limit to the possibilities.
One of my favorite parts about that introduction is that Einstein quote. And that quote is something that I feel is a quote that we should all memorize for ourselves so that we can pull it up in our day-to-day activity as we're going through things and as we are framing our response to situations. And there's nothing more important, I think, in today's parenting conversation than truly thinking about the level of thinking that the problems our kids are facing are created on, and that it's going to require a different level of thinking to solve those problems that they are facing today. My clients and the women in the Soul-u-tions Lab, they range from, most of them, mid-30s to, we have up to mid-60s, with a couple of people on the mid-70s and people on the mid-20s. But for the most part, these are women between the ages of 35 and 65 who are working through what it means to be the parent they want to be today, the wife that they want to be today, the daughter of aging parents that they want to be today, the friend that they want to be today, and also the woman that they want to be today for themselves. So I'm going to just tell you the real challenges that my clients are bringing to me right now, whether they are 35-year-old mothers or whether they're 65-year-old mothers. The challenge is the same. The challenge is, how do you show up to be the parent that your kids need you to be? And this isn't necessarily going to be the parent that society tells you that you need to be, or that Instagram tells you that you need to be, but the parent that you need to be for your particular kid who is navigating the issues that they're facing. So this could be, hey, your 10-year-old child who is transitioning from being a really young kid to being a kid who's tasting some freedom and who has had a parent who's very intentional in her parenting, very respectful in her parenting, knows that she doesn't want to necessarily be the authoritarian parent that her parents were. She is well studied in the concept of gentle parenting. She doesn't want to fall into the there's a new camp, like, it isn't like who gives a rip parenting, but it's kind of like exhausted parenting. And I think it's very interesting because what we are seeing a lot these days are people who've really studied and done a deep dive and done a great job of being gentle parents, but they are so exhausted by always being gentle in their parenting. And some of this is driven because of the gaps in the parenting that they received as kids and how harsh that authoritarian way of parenting felt to them in their experience. And you know what I'm talking about. It's the kids are meant to be seen and not heard type of parenting. It's the parenting where you felt like your needs weren't met. And so you're trying so hard to meet your kids' needs that you are exhausting yourself. And I want to tell you, your kids don't need a parent who's trying so hard not to hurt their feelings and who's trying so hard to think of exactly what their kids need as a parent right then, that they are exhausted or feel like they're failing and flailing. Truly, your kids it's not helpful for them to have a parent who's just like obsessing over exactly what their kids need so that the parent doesn't feel like they're flailing. The parent your kids need, and this is a new word, and I can't wait to tell you how I discovered this new word, but I think it just sums it up and captures it succinctly, is your kids need an authoritative parent, not an authoritarian, right? And gentle parenting is amazing and respectful. But an authoritative parent is a parent who knows their role, who knows that, hey, there's a difference between me and my kid. I get to make the decisions. I may ask for input and may give my kid choices because I know that's important. But at the end of the day, I know it's more important for my kids to feel safe in me as their parent. Like, I'm always going to love them and I'm always going to know how to help them navigate the experiences that they're navigating, whether it's just like how to navigate coming home from school one day at 3 and being tired and hungry and frustrated with all the rules that they experienced at school and taking that out on a younger sibling, or whether it's being, having fun and staying up late on the weekends and maybe just being overstimulated and too tired to know that they're too tired to be polite or kind, and they just lash out at everybody and blow the weekend up. Those kids, all kids need to know they're loved by their parents, unconditionally loved, that they cannot do anything to jeopardize the relationship, and that they can look to you, they can borrow your brain. Really get this. This goes back to the quote from Einstein, right? The level of thinking on which problems are created and the level of thinking on which solutions are found are two different levels of thinking. So your child's brain is not fully developed until they're somewhere between 25 to 27, which means that they need your brain to help them navigate certain situations. Not every situation You do not need to be on call with your phone for your kids all the time. Absolutely not. In fact, I think kids, you need to be more unavailable on your phone for your children. But what you need to be is available when you notice that your kids are struggling to navigate a situation on their own. And to be able to step in and not be afraid to take control in the matter. All right, this is one thing when they're 7, 8, 9, and 10. And that area, that arena, it's, maybe it's a tantrum. Maybe they've said something disrespectful. Maybe they've shoved somebody, pushed somebody, or hit somebody. In that situation, what we know is their behavior is the best solution that their brain can come up with. I'm going to repeat that to you. Their behavior is the best solution that their brain can come up with. Now, an authoritarian parent would have just, it was like grab them by the arms and put them in their room and no dinner and all the works. A gentle parent might try to overly involve them in conversation about what they're feeling and how that wasn't nice and all of that. But this middle way of being an authoritative parent is the parent who absolutely has a boundary with the behavior. The kid is a good kid. This is just direct quote from Dr. Becky Good inside. It's a good kid who's having a hard time. But you can step in as that authoritative parent and stop the behavior right then. Say, absolutely not. Unacceptable behavior. You are loved, and I know that there's a good reason. Like why that is, the best solution that they could come up with. But you don't really have to talk to them about it when you know and understand that they're trying to solve the problem with the same level of thinking that caused the problem. Hence, your reason to step in and help them solve the problem with your brain, which is, I know that seemed like a great solution. How about we think about some other ways you could have handled the situation? This is, of course, after your kid has cooled off and after you have cooled off. Because let's be honest, in the heat of the moment, when my kids would act that way, all I would want to do is respond in my own, dysregulated nervous system, react or respond or have my own sense of embarrassment or shame over how my kids are acting. Or just kind of again, I had authoritarian parents, loving authoritarian parents, but somebody might have, pulled my arm back. Give everybody a cooling off period. You can stop the behavior and then you can go in and you can say, okay, that was not appropriate behavior. I understand something was going on. Tell me what you were trying to communicate. And let's think of another way you could have handled the situation. Because, and this is the part that I think parents are forgetting, the behavior is going to continue today, tomorrow, and the next day. And what is exhausting us isn't necessarily the repetitiveness of the behavior, but it's our brains who aren't really forward thinking of, this is a lack of skill set on my kid's part, and I need to help give them a new skill set to provide a different solution, one that is age appropriate and one that's safe for all involved. And so it was so cool. This is how we came up with this term, authoritative parent. I was working with a client and we were going through all of the things and the situations that they were kind of feeling like there's a growth spurt with their kid, right? And all of a sudden she definitely is struggling. So the mom is like, okay, I notice my kid is struggling, but I don't know what the solution is for this. And we talked through this, how to be the parent of this next age kid. Always hand over your heart. You are doing the best you can. You have never parented a kid this age, right? So we want to come from a deep place of compassion and empathy for both you as the parent and your child. You love each other. Okay. Then from there, I was like, let's think of some scripts that we could work through for how to handle this with your child. Let's use ChatGPT. Hey, ChatGPT could be one of the most underused parenting in your pocket tools that you don't even realize that you have. So we put everything into ChatGPT, the situation, the circumstances, the challenges that came out of the circumstances. And then here's the key that you need to know. What is the result that you as the parent ultimately want to create for your kid? I want to create a kid that is healthy, that's resilient, that's allowed to be frustrated, but who knows that hitting isn't allowed or back talk isn't allowed. So we put all of this in. And this is where Chat was fabulous. Chat came back and said, I can tell you are a very good mother. It just feels so good to be affirmed in our parenting. I can tell you are a very good mother and that you are intentional in your parenting and that you really, really care. So here are some traditional parenting models: the authoritarian model and the strengths and weaknesses of that, the gentle parenting model, the strengths and weaknesses of that, and then this sturdy parent concept. Chat said, but this middle way is the authoritative parenting model. This is what helps kids feel like my mom or my dad will always have my back, and there is nothing that I can't take to them that they won't be able to help me with. Now, this is so important at this age of 7, 8, 9, 10. Why? Because you are setting the groundwork for your parenting relationship with your kid at 17, 18, 19, and 20. Every time you reaffirm to your children, you're a good kid who just hasn't learned new skill sets yet. How do I express my frustration in a socially acceptable manner for someone in my age group? How do I express my frustration without being disrespectful? I mean, these are terms your kids aren't going to know, but you are going to know. These are the results we want to create for your kids. And then after you do that with Chat, don't be afraid to go some back and forth and say, okay, let's problem solve. Let's say she comes in tomorrow. What do we do? X, Y, Z. And here's another tip that I wanted to share that we came up with in this coaching session for this mother. Being proactive as the parent who is the behavioral coach for their kids. Again, this is not authoritarian, and it isn't gentle in the sense that it's exhausting you. It's the parent who's going to wake up in the morning and think about, okay, when this happens again, what are the additional skills my child is going to need? How can I help her between now and then? Just evaluate the situation, evaluate what worked, what didn't, and what you want to do differently next time with her. And then every day, just keep reminding yourself, this is what we're working on. This is what we're working on. This is what we're working on. Hand over heart, I'm not failing as a parent. I'm not failing as a parent. I have a good kid who's having a hard time, and I'm a good parent who may be having a hard time. But as long as I stay in the conversation and grounded and rooted in my authoritative parenting role, using my brain that is a different and higher level of thinking than my kids, we will always find a solution. I'm going to wrap this podcast up here because I think that's plenty for you to digest right now. And then in the next episode, which will come out in a couple of weeks, and I want you to be waiting on that. In the next episode, I'm going to address the parenting needs of the 17, 18, 19, and 20-year-old. And this one, I'm just going to remind you this, what my grandmother always said, little people, little problems, big people, big problems. What begins as these problem-solving tools of 7, 8, 9, and 10-year-olds, that's just practice for the bigger problems that your older kids are going to face. So again, we are building on trust. We are building on love. We are building on confidence and skill sets here. So I hope you have a fabulous rest of the afternoon. I hope you really see yourself and all of the effort and intentionality that you're putting into your role as a parent. You are an amazing parent. And I want you to please, please, please share this episode with your parent bestie. We are amazing at sharing our best resources for food and clothing and schools and after-school activities. But what I want to make more common is us sharing the best parenting skills and resources that are out there. So please share this with your friends. Let's get this conversation going. What does this generation of kids need as parents? And is this idea of an authoritative parent, is that like ringing true to you? Does that sound something that feels like exactly what you're looking for? I'd also love to hear that. And you can put that in the comments to this podcast or even email me at Simkins, SIMKINS.com. And listen, when you are ready to take your parenting to the next level, I really would love for you to check out the Soul-u-tions Labs, which is my membership for women who we share all the best tools and we work through all of these issues in real time for you. So until next time, have a fabulous day.
I ain't done living the life I'm meant to lead. And I ain't done loving the ones who cared for me. The hope and the strength and the love and the smiles and the laughter of friends and family. Add it up, you'll find no limit to the possibilities. The left and the right and some faith in the fight and your courage is all